distance behind us and imagine coming together, both of you who are here as well as those who are online. So Dan's going to bring out a wonderful melody, Shirul Adonai, Shirul Adonai. It's a Carlbach melody, which we'll then use later on during our Kabbalat Shabbat, something to lift us up as we come together.
Yalla, 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 yalla,
Page 120, we bring just a little more light into our world as we light the Shabbat candles and allow them to bring us some light this Friday evening. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Page 131, Shirul Adonai. Putting words to that melody.
Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru me'yom le'yom, Yeshuato, Ya Elai, 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 Ya Elai, 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 Ya Elai, 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 Ya Elai, Elai, Elai.
Go to fire it up now. Gotta get some of that energy. Psalm 29, you can find on page 136, Mizmor LeDavid.
Yai, yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, lai. Ya, lai, 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 lai. Ya, lai, 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 lai. Ya, 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 lai, 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 lai. Ya, lai, 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 lai. Ya, lai, 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 lai. Mizmor LeDavid, Ahavu l'Adonai b'neilim, Ahavu l'Adonai, Kavod va'oz, Ya'elai, Hodu l'Adonai, Kevod Shemo, Ishtachavu l'Adonai, B'hadrat Kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim, El hakavod yirim, Yai, lai, 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 lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 yay, lay, lay. Adonai oz le'amo yitin. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai oz le'amo yitin. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay.
Sort of gets you in the mood, doesn't it? One of the things that reminds everyone of spring, of budding life, of renewal of life is to be able to go to a wedding. So many of our weddings have been postponed, but we have a lot more of them coming. One very important one later on in the spring. So let's go ahead and turn to Lechad Dodi Likrat Kala, page 138, in which we say we'll greet the Sabbath as we would a bride.
Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yay, lay, 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 lay. Yan lay 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 lay, yay lay 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 lay. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet ve'letila. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki himekor haberacha, merosh mekedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machsheva tchila. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Verse 5, Hitorori.
Hitoreri, hitoreri, hiva orech kumi ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaych nigla. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
For verse 9, we rise and we face the entrance to greet the Sabbath as a bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechad Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Yala la 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 la, yala la 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 la. Yada la 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 la, yada la la yada la la yada la 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 la, yada la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Before you sit down, look around the room and wave to someone. You can even peek your nose out and take a breath. You at home can say Shabbat Shalom and give a little kiss on the cheek. And then let's be seated as we get ready for Psalm 92. It's a special psalm for Shabbat. Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, the special psalm for the Sabbath.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Magalu Masechaya Meoram Humashavotecha Magalu Masechaya Meoram Humashavotecha Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
In about a moment, we'll begin the call to worship. So what have we been doing? We've been worshiping and praying, yes. But the Kabbalat Shabbat is sort of that warm-up, a way of saying we have to find the transition from that work week, from all the calls we have to pursue and some of the visits we have to make and the appointments that we have and the responsibilities we have to fill. And all of a sudden to come into a sanctuary and to say, okay, now I'm ready to pray. You need a little bit of time for transition. So the Kabbalat Shabbat, some through words, some through meditation, some through song. Let even the melody calm us down or lift us up wherever we are to get ready to say, we're here now to celebrate the week that was, to celebrate what we have, and to look forward to the week that will be. So the Chatzik Kaddish on page 144 begins that time for prayer.
Yikada v'yitkada shemei rabba.
Amen.
Ve'amad divrach yotev yamlich malchutei. B'chayecho v'yom echon u'v'chayei deko beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'vizman kariv v'imeru. Amen. Yeishmei rabba mevarach le'elam le'almaya yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yistabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudusha barechu leilan min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damira be'alma v'meru. Amen.
The call to worship is on the next page, 146. If you're able, please rise.
Yai lai lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai lai, ya lai lai lai, yai lai lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai, lai, lai, ya, lai, lai, lai. Ya, lai, 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 lai.
And together let us say in English on page 149, a version of the Ma'ariv Aravim, praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which the time season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Baruch ata Adonai, ha-ma'ariv aravim. And we turn to the next page, Ahavat Olam, a song of love.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Amcha Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadetam, otanu limadetam. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochenu uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'bahem negei yomam v'layla negei yomam v'layla be'ahavat chal tasir mimenu le'olamim baruch ata Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue with the V'ahavta, page 154, as we chant together.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shitecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha b'derech
ופשוק בך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet. Let's turn to page 157, right in the middle. We're also talk about a transition from great violence and anxiety and stress in our society to a hope that we're turning the corner and building the United States and this world on a foundation of love and respect. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say Adonai. There is one God in heaven and earth.
Declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work. The nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, ya lai la lai la lai la 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 lai, ya la la lai lai, ya la la lai lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. Malchutecha ra'u banecha, boke'eyam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Elianu ve'amru, Elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai lai, ya lai la lai la lai la 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 lai, ya la la lai lai, ya la la lai lai.
ונאמר כי פרע אדוני את יעקב, ועלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. And on the next page, we'll read the English at the very top of page 161, and then share in this chatimah, this prayer, this evening prayer of peace. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukan shalom, shalom aleinu ve'akol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim ve'akol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim Shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
Page 162, this next page. Dan, what do we have? Yismechu or Vishamru? Your call.
Let's do Yismechu
You got
tonight.
it.
Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat Bekorei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat Bekorei Oneg Shabbat Mekadshei Mekadshei Shili Shabbat Kulam Yisbe'u V'yitanu Mituvecha Shabbat Yismechu V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat Bekorei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat Bekorei Oneg Shabbat V'hashvi'i Ratzita bo V'kidashto Shabbat Chemdan Yamim Oto Karata Shabbat Yismechu V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat Bekorei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat Bekorei Oneg Shabbat Zecher Lema'aseh Bereshit Shabbat Zecher Lema'aseh Bereshit Shabbat Yismechu V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat Bekorei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat Bekorei Oneg Shabbat.
In about a moment, we're going to rise for the Amidah, page 164. And as is our minhag, we will chant the Avot and Gevurot and Kedushah together, and then have some time for each of us to have our own private meditation. So if you're able, both here and at home, to rise, please do so as we continue with the Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'ima'ot, U'mevii Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah rab lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom melech מצית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות ומתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המקום. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. יחיו לרצון ימרפי מרפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. יחיו לרצון ימרפי מרפי והגיון ליבי לפניך. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri vegoali. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri vegoali. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, ya la lai 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 lai, yai lai lai.
Spent much of the day at either a hospital or visiting someone in a home who's struggling with their health, and or on the phone with those who are doing the same or caretaking for others. Each of us in this room, I know you are aware of loved ones, good friends, and sweet people who are struggling with their health or who are struggling to find the energy to keep going as a caretaker, which is an overwhelming task. And we have a marvelous caring committee, and I know that Barbara Lettas, you've been so very helpful with that, and others. And we have people making these blankets that can wrap people in, and gestures of prayer, gestures of loving support, whether it's for a meal or a blanket or just a call. And so as we hear this long list of those on our prayer for healing, know that there's many others who aren't yet ready to have their names read in public. And I know there are many others that you have in your mind as well. And so as we share this, let it not be a song, let it be a prayer of healing, a prayer of support for those who we care about, and we're helping them through this time of crisis. The prayer is on 371, and we mention Estelle Agras, Ryan Alpert, Mike Babbage, Stan and Sandra Barr, Andy Bean, Emily Bellstock, Samantha Bernstein, Paul Bonilla, Steve Bolcom, Arlene and Sydney Brandt, Harold Cohen, Joseph Michael Connor, Cindy Coons, Frank and Aaron DeSena, Mark Einhorn, Tim Emery, Ron Epstein, Ellen Falk, Stan Farber, Harriet Feld, Jack Fisher, Bob Frischman, Morris Ginsburg, Wendy Glasser, Marlene Gottleman, Marcia and Bob Gold, Jeremy Gold, Ellen and Erica Gulnick, Lois Haas, Jerry Hart, Miriam Hoopman, Oliver Jack, Steve Kofler, Arnie Lash, Jerry Lassow, Lori Lavenhar, Fred and Judy Lazar, Audrey Lazar, Adrian Levy, David Levy, Juanita Lorenco, Dina Marks, Mary Ann May, and Hugh Miles, Nevitt Montgomery, Diane Cushman-Neal, Rafael Ben-Ruveno Fega, Jane and Sam Potter, Bernie Rogoff, Alan Rosenberg, Donna Santisteban, Diana Sevilla, John Schuler, Daniel and Callista Schwartz, Raj Schwartz, Norm Sheldon, Joshua Singer, Carol Snoddy, Mark Sorkin, Sheldon Sperling, Ed Steinberg, Betty Stone, Helena Stryker, Hal Tabak, Stan Ullman, Yona Victor, Marlene Waldbaum, Valerie Wasserman, Dorothy Whitty, Eden Winnig, Jim Witchlands, Jill Witchlands, Jim Wilson, Art Wolfson, Elaine Yaffe, Esther Jenkinson, Aidan Zenon, and Dr. Julie and Dr. Scott Zibelman. I know that there are people who are typing on their Facebook and they put names up as well. Are there other names that I should mention tonight as we sing this song of healing? Just shout their names out as we sing the song in the middle of page 371, this prayer of healing.
Sheberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Sheberach imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Flour, yeast, salt, and eggs. You can get fancy and complicated, admittedly, as I often do, adding spices or mix-ins or stuffings. But in the end, flour, yeast, salt, and eggs, and you have a challah. Well, before the pandemic hit, many of us made challah, perhaps with varying degrees of regularity and success. As we found ourselves with more time on our hands, no restaurants to eat out at, and our kitchens calling out to us, the tradition of baking challah every Thursday evening or Friday afternoon has exploded. It's been so wonderful to share in this ritual with all of you. Pictures that you've posted or sent us, or the challah class we did together. This Shabbat, there's a custom specific to the shape of our chalot, our challahs. This Shabbat, the Shabbat after Passover, there is a very old custom of the Schlissel challah. Schlissel is Yiddish for key. On this Shabbat, many either form their challah into the shape of a key or even bake an actual metal key into the challah. In this age of social media with challah baking, affinity groups, increased connectivity and sharing, my entire Facebook feed today is full of Schlissel challahs. So where does this custom come from? The most simplistic explanation is it's for good luck. It brings you good fortune and blessings. But there's more. There has to be a reason it would bring good luck. As with many things within our tradition, there is no one clear source, but there are a lot of answers. In the Talmud in Tractate Shabbat, we learn that Rabbah bar Rav Huna said that any person who has Torah in them, but does not have Yirat Shamayim, a fear of heaven, maybe a fear of God, is like a treasurer to whom they gave keys to the inner doors of the treasury, but did not give keys to the outer door, with the implication that you can't get to the inner door without a key to the outer door. Although Torah represents the inner key, without the fear of heaven, the outer key, you cannot gain access to the genuine Torah that lies within. There's an idea that the matzah we eat on Passover is meant to instill this yirat shamayim, this fear of heaven in us. Based on this Talmudic idea that this fear is tied to a key, Jews in Europe began to bake a key into their challah after Passover to show that they wanted this fear, a good fear, to stay with them after Passover had ended. Another explanation, which some believe to be the earliest written source of the custom, is from Rabbi Abraham Yehoshua Heschel, the Apter Rav of 1700s Poland. He believed that on Passover, the prayers of Klal Yisrael, the prayers of the people of Israel, were allowed to enter through the gates of heaven. But then, as Passover ended, those gates began to close. How could we reopen the gates for our prayers to enter once again? What's the key? The key is observing Shabbat. And so therefore, you bake a key into the Shabbat challah after Passover to remind us that it is through observing Shabbat that our prayers will be allowed into the gates of heaven. One of the complicated potential origins of the Schlissel challah, the key challah, is not from Judaism. It's possible that the practice of baking a key, or potentially any non-edible object, was in fact pagan in its origin, and in theory, should have really upset our rabbinic sages. There's a long-standing Christian tradition of baking keys into cakes and breads. For some time, keys were manufactured in the shape of a cross in places where Christianity was dominant. On Easter, Christians would bake a symbol of Jesus into their bread, so that Jesus would almost literally rise up from the dead. These cross-like keys were often what was baked into their Easter bread. Easter bread, which often is egg-based and braided, looks a lot like a challah. Today, both as in modern times and literally today, this Shabbat, many have baked or bought Schlissel challahs. And there are many who fight against the Schlissel challah, who think it's an appropriation of a Christian tradition, or who think that it's too much of a quick fix to try to find reward from God by baking a key in bread, instead of committing ourselves to living good and just and meaningful lives. And there are many who find this ritual meaningful. As spring comes in, it helps them to find that optimistic spirit, that this special challah connects them to Jews around the world and Jews that came before them who participated in this tradition. So this afternoon, I made a challah dough. I let it rise, and it came time to braid it. And I felt anguished. Do I make a traditional-looking challah or a Schlissel challah? Braid or key? I've actually been thinking about it all week. Really, I've devoted not an insignificant amount of time to thinking about the shape of my Shabbat challah. I began to feel a little silly about it, honestly. Just pick, braid your challah, and bake it, and call it a day. Why are you spending so much time on this? But maybe, if we don't engage in these intellectual exercises for their own sake, we're missing out on some of the best parts of our rich Jewish heritage. Our rabbis did this. They engaged in machloket l'shem shamayim, debate and discussion and engagement for its own sake. No end point, no test to study for or a grade to get, no promotion or raise on the line. Just using your brain and your critical thinking skills and your capacity to engage in the world around you for the sake of knowing it's there, of knowing that you can, knowing that you're alive not just because your heart is beating and your lungs are inflating, but because your brain and your soul and your energy are working together to let you think. I'm not even going to tell you how I braided my challah this afternoon, because it's not the point. The point is that we have the ability and the need to engage in thoughts and conversations and respectful debates, l'shem shamayim, for their own sake. As we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who's commanded us to engage with words of Torah. Ken yehi ratzon. May this be God's will. We turn in our prayer books to page 570. We are in the process of counting the Omer, the 7 weeks between Passover and Shavuot. And I'm really grateful to Dan, who's brought us this really beautiful counting the Omer melody that I'd never heard, but is so beautiful and is a way to add some meaning to this tradition. So we turn to page 570.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer al sfirat haomer al sfirat haomer al sfirat haomer.
Hayom 13 yom shehem shavua echad v'shisha yamim le'omer. Today is 13 days, which is 1 week, and 6 days of the Omer.
Sheva Shabbatot Timimot tiyena Sheva Shabbatot Timimot tiyena la 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 la
We turn to page 586 as we rise, if you're able, for Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol Latet Gedula L'Yotzer Breshit Shelo asanu k'gliei haratzot Velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama Shelo sam chalkeinu kahem V'gol aleinu kechol hamonam V'anachnu korim U'mishtachavim u'modim Livnei melech malchei halachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu notei shamayim ve'yotzer haaretz U'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al U'shchinatu zo v'gohei meromim Hu Eloheinu ein od Emet malkeinu efes zulato K'katuv b'torato V'yet וידעת היום, וידעת היום להשבותה אל לבבך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים מעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated for a moment. Our thoughts turn to those who've departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. This Shabbat, we're marking the recent death of Faye Greenspan, the sister of Helena and Alan Stryker. We're in the Shiva, the 7 days of mourning for Dr. Michael Cook. We're in the Shilashim, the 30 days of mourning for Shelley Frankel, the sister of Nancy and Howard Gottlieb, for Gerald Getz, the father of Randy and Deborah Getz, for Dennis Hansen, the friend of Sandy and Mike Korn, for Catherine Knezovich, mother of Karen and Brian Kaler, for Larry Lazar, brother-in-law of Sharon and Lee Keene, for Dick Morgan, for Anthony Morvant, father of Kim Williams and Darren Kaplan, for Lois Talion, the mother of Richard Talion, Nancy Fridstein, the grandmother of Sarah, Dylan, and Graham, and for Jerry Thaler, the uncle of Lori and John Spanbauer. We're also marking the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of the passings of Elaine Pywin Bryn, Harry Condiot, Sharon Cooper, Rebecca Davidovitz, Marvin Diamond, Bruce Drazen, Sylvia Antelis, Etta Gepsman, Len Gersten, Mel Green, Leona Harris, Seymour Heller, Betty Joblov, Howard Kalnitsky, Elise Kaufman, Edna King, Albert Landau, Cy Lazar, Donald Leonard, Margaret Loeb, Jacob Lurie, Marvin Mandelstam, Wilbur H. Mead, Harry Miner, Milton Marcus Oringer, Matilda Plassman, Marlene Pullman, Norman Pullman, Hans Werner Reisner, Max Reisner, Milton Rich, Jerome Robbins, Brania Roschel, Mildred Ruby, Bernice Beebe Schmerman, Dr. John Singer, Edwin Robert Snyder, Doris Citron Solomon, Hilda Strauss, Lawrence Sunshine, Marcia Wadley Vest, Selma Victor, and Dr. Henry Wolfe. Is anyone else in a period of mourning want to share? Thank you. Anyone else have a name? We rise, page 598, for the mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma dirach urutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. We say zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Please be seated. This coming weekend, next weekend, at this time, we'll be starting our Zoomathon, our second Zoomathon, hopefully our last Zoomathon. We won't ever have to do a fully virtual event again. But next weekend is Zoomathon Part 2. We are so excited. We have so much exciting programming. We're trying to take advantage of our last moments of a virtual life to bring people in from all over the world. So we have people coming from Tel Aviv. We have people coming from Amsterdam with the Anne Frank House is going to give us a tour of her home in Amsterdam. We have people from down the street. We have Rosenberg's Bagels, who's going to come and talk about bringing New York deli to Denver and that experience and what drove him. All kinds of exciting programming. You can still sign up to get meals from A Perfect Pair Catering for Friday night Shabbat meals or a Saturday lunch from the Bagel Deli, so let someone else cook for you. And challahs made by me and Lisa Thorner, who learned to make challah last year, so now she's a pro and ready to go. You can buy t-shirts, all kinds of exciting things. You can get to all the information from our website, and we will continue to send you lots of emails, I promise, about Zoomathon. If you have any questions, you can talk to me or to Lisa or Carly Coons, who's been working very hard on this with us. So we are really looking forward to next weekend. So please join us for all kinds of exciting program for all of next weekend. Other announcements? Good to go. So we will close with Gesher Tzar Me'od, the whole world is a very narrow bridge, page 643.
Kol haolam kulo Gesher Tzar Me'od Gesher Tzar Me'od Gesher Tzar Me'od Kol haolam kulo Gesher Tzar Me'od Gesher Tzar Me'od Hey, 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 hey V'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar Lo nefachek, lo nefachek la V'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar Lo nefachek la Yai lai lai lai, ya lai 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 Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 Yai lai lai lai, ya lai 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 Yai lai lai, ya lai 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 Yai lai lai lai, ya lai 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 Yai lai lai lai, ya lai 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 Ya lai lai lai, yai lai, ya lai lai lai
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.